Hey, I've told you about how Republican Governor Sam Brown back in Kansas has essentially destroyed the economy of that state. Tax cuts for the rich, which have resulted in having to cut education budgets. We've talked about the complete disaster that is going on in Kansas with regard to health care and social services and availability of care. And now, Kansas lawmakers have concluded the longest legislative session in state history by approving a bunch of regressive tax hikes, which will now fix the damage done to the state budget from those tax cuts for the rich by targeting none other than the favorite targets of Republicans like Sam Brownback, low-income workers and their families. More than half of the $384 million that is expected in new revenue from these tax hikes will be from cigarette taxes and sales taxes, two policies which are regressive because as a percentage of income, it is the poor and the middle income people who will pay a higher percentage of their incomes to these taxes than the rich. Everyone who shops will pay the new 6.5% sales tax rate, up from 6.15% in previous years. And again, as we know, sales taxes disproportionately affect the poor and the low income and the middle income. There is going to be a continuation of a limited tax credit for grocery purchases to low-income families, which will slightly offset the unevenness of the sales tax impact. But that credit is capped at $500, and it disappears if your family earns over $30,615 per year. Who can be shocked by this? We know trickle-down economics don't work. We know that a rising tide does not lift all boats when it comes to giving tax cuts to the rich. We know that the rich don't just spend money that they don't pay in taxes on growing businesses. Many of them don't have businesses. And the ones that do would be really stupid to grow a business that there's no demand for, as we've talked about. Demand is what stimulates business growth. So they blow up education. They blow up social services and healthcare by giving tax cuts to the rich. And now there are tax increases, which supposedly they're against in principle, period. But if you have to do a tax increase, Lewis, let's disproportionately hit the poor and middle income individuals. That's exactly what's going on. Kansas is the petri dish, the epitome of the failure of trickle-down economic theory.
It's unfortunate that those who are taking it on the chin here are the ones who are, unable to relocate and to move to places where they would have more of a support network and have more help and be able to live richer lives.
The voters in Kansas are getting what they voted for. It's just that so many of them don't realize that they're voting against their own best interest. And then, as Lewis says, they're ending up unable to change their circumstances.
Yes. And, a lot of the time they're also lied to by these politicians.
Of course.
They're not who they make themselves out to be.